Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I just got back from, I took my wife to wine country in California for our 20th anniversary. Just got back, and so anyway, let's get it going. Link to, this is interesting, I wanted to show you this real quick. Link to has a handful of AI companies you can invest in on their platform, and they are my sponsor, but there was a guy that they did I think they did an interview with, and he was showing the size of the chips from his company. His company's Cerebrus Systems. Let me give them a follow. And he was showing the size of the chips that his company uses versus the size. This is the size of the competitor's chips versus the size of his chips, which is pretty. That's a pretty huge difference. But if you're interested in AI investments, I need to actually plop down a little bit of money on some of these things. I haven't done it yet, but that's the next thing. Now, while I was out of town, there was a big controversy around Ledger. Apparently the Ledger people came out with some new product, and then one of their people that worked there made some comment about how technically they could extract your 24 words or something like that. So right now I'm kind of looking into this, and I'm talking to people behind the scenes. They corrected on CoinDesk and said that Ledger said we cannot extract your keys and will not extract your keys. And so and that's after deleting a tweet that said, technically speaking, and always has been possible to write firmware that facilitates key extraction. So, and anyway, I'm looking into this, but folks, what I've tried to do is I've tried to keep my things. I've got most of mine is on a ledger right now, but I've got some that's through iTrustCapital. You know, ironically, in my opinion, iTrustCapital is the safest place that I have any of my digital assets, and the reason that it is that because it's an IRA firm, they have to use these custodians that are, what do they call them? Qualified custodians. So it's ultimate, in essence, it's the only way for retail individuals right now to have access to institutional grade custody. So I don't worry at all about my stuff that's with iTrustCapital. So I've got some there, and then I've got a lot on my ledger, and then, you know, I'm going to study this further, and if I don't feel comfortable after reading it, then I'll just make sure I spread some a little more away from my ledger. Might have some on, let's say the Sum app there. That's the Sum wallet, which is Save End. But anyway, I'll keep you updated on that and see if I can find out anything more. Wanted to show you this. XRP price soars 55% in Q1 as XRPL activity booms. First quarter 2023 has seen an active and eventful period for XRP Ledger. XRP's financial performance has outshone the overall crypto market cap increase. XRPL ecosystem has evolved with the introduction of NFT transactions and successful sidechain deployments. You can kind of see XRP rising as everything else goes under attack. You can literally see it. Then while I was away, we got of course, the fact that the judge is going to make available the Hinman documents. Now, this is Coin Paprika, the return rates, 7 days. Look, XRP's performed the best in the top 10 in the last 7 days and in the last quarter, 17.8% in the quarter. If you look on the year, I don't know what, I don't really count these kind, because if it's showing something like this, that's red flag, something doesn't add up. And then Polygon is not in the top 10, but it's done 28%. Other than that, XRP's up 8% on the year. I'll take it. Now, wanted to show you this because Brad Garlinghouse, he retweeted about it, Brad Garlinghouse was on CNBC International.
Given the fact that there's a lot of caution out there in the investor community after a number of high-profile collapses in the crypto world, by getting in on the infrastructure more, are you trying to iron out some of the risk and volatility that's associated with this sector?
Well, I think at its core, this is a bet about the long-term view of where digital assets and blockchain technologies are going to change how financial institutions manage and certainly transact. At the core, we think there's going to be a lot of examples where through tokenization, you're going to see assets that we think about trading today that are tokenized. And institutions need to think about how they store digital assets today, known as cryptocurrencies, but also those tokens of the future. BlackRock's CEO, Larry Fink, talked about this being a multi-trillion-dollar asset business. And we think it's going to continue to grow. It's a great fit for us because it's really where Ripple has been throughout our history of focusing on infrastructure and solving real problems for real customers.
A few years ago, back in 2020, you had a bit of a run-in with the SEC. Medico is based in Switzerland. It's got non-US employees, as far as I know. Was that part of the appeal, given that US regulators are cracking down more and more on cryptocurrency companies?
Well, look, I think it's fair to say that the U.S. has made it as confusing as possible as to what the rules of the road are for the crypto industry. And frankly, it's why you're seeing entrepreneurship and investment flowing into other jurisdictions. Certainly, Europe has been a significant beneficiary of the confusion that has existed in the United States. And yes, as you described, the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission has really been at the forefront of that confusion. And unfortunately, that has encouraged companies like Ripple to invest more outside of the United States. About 95% of our customers are non-U.S. And this year, most of our hiring will be non-U.S. for some of those exact same reasons. Ripple, prior to this acquisition, we have about 800 employees. Medico has about 100 employees, as you described, almost all outside the United States, primarily in and around Europe. So we think it's a perfect fit, both from the type of customer, where we're trying to grow, where our customers are today. And so we're certainly very excited about it.
Brad, what should the post-FTX regulatory framework then look like for cryptos and governing cryptos?
I think it's a really important question because I think we conflate what happened with FTX as a crypto problem. And really, look, from my point of view, at its core, what happened with FTX is called a fraud. And frauds happen in lots of different, unfortunately, asset classes. It's not, unfortunately, specific to crypto. But when I talk about providing clarity and rules of the road, the rules of the road for FTX were clear. They just broke those rules. The challenge here in the United States, where Europe really has provided leadership, in countries like UAE, certainly the growth you're seeing in Dubai, but even the UK and Singapore, they're providing the clarity about how they will regulate these digital assets. And that allows, through those rules of the road, that allows entrepreneurs, that allows investors to go engage constructively with regulators. And again, the reason why Medico has been such a perfect fit for Ripple is from its beginning, it's been focused on infrastructure, enterprise, and working with the regulators. These are all regulated entities. That's true of Ripple's customers today, and the reason that we think Medico is such a perfect fit, we're willing to pay $250 million, was because they also have that same DNA and that same ethos of focusing on an enterprise customer, working with regulators, and really being very global from the start.
So I want to make a point here, and that is, the saying is, not your keys, not your crypto. Well, guess what, folks? A long time ago, people stored their stock certificates in their homes or in their safety deposit boxes because they didn't trust the idea that they didn't hold their own stock certificates. And do you know what happened? Is over time, Wall Street gained the trust, and it became a thing where there was insurance and there was all kinds of things. And this won't be any different, folks. This story does not end with you having your crypto on a Ledger Nano S. I can't wait until I have they have intentionally kept us in a place where we're out here in the wild, wild west, and we've got to keep it on Ledger Nano S's or on a wallet on our phone. They could give us access to retail custody tomorrow. Coinbase could. All these companies could. They're not being allowed to because of the Gary Genslers of the world, because they're waiting to hand this off to their friends. But there will be a day, probably sooner rather than later, when I will and you will and everybody else will take their crypto. They're going to put it with an institution that's going to give them insurance and peace of mind and everything else. And that's a good thing. You know why it's a good thing? Because that's when all of the trillions of dollars are going to come into this. And that's a fact, Jack. So yeah, not your keys, not your crypto. Well, yeah, I've seen the old people back in the day who had stock certificates stacked in closets in their houses because they didn't trust custody and all of that. But that changed over time. Okay, and this will too. It's the same thing. You're not going to grow this industry into a maybe even quadrillion dollar industry until people don't have to think about all that, because everybody's not going to be comfortable with Ledger and NOSs. And who knows, this Ledger thing that happened this week may be a step in the process of turning all this over to custodians and to, you know, whatever, opening a JP Morgan account to keep your crypto. That's where this is all going to go, whether we like it or not. It was never going to be Bitcoin down with governments and down with financial institutions. Now, the financial institutions may look different, but they're still going to exist in some form or another. Digital Pound Foundation, new full-service platform, Ripple, allows users to seamlessly mint, manage, transact, and redeem CBDCs. This thing is a big deal. Anthony Welfare from Ripple has said CBDC team making significant progress with the launch of the new CBDC platform. 4 countries now announced. Grateful to Team Ripple, who are developing the best platform for the future of digital currencies. Palau, Bhutan, Montenegro, Hong Kong. Then we had this. Ripple's been selected to showcase key CBDC use case for, who's this? Official Twitter account for Hong Kong Monetary Authority, HKD pilot program with Fubon Bank. Then we had this. This was a typical Blockworks, typical Bitcoin, Ethereum narrative type company. Tweeted out this to create a certain kind of narrative. News. Ripple launches CBDC platform central banks will not use or interact with XRP. And David Schwartz says the CBDC platform reaffirms the significance of the XRP ledger as it's built with the same core ledger technology. It has the ability to interact with XRP ledger and use XRP as a bridge currency for cross-currency and cross-border payments. I remember David Schwartz doing a video where maybe it was an interview, and he was basically saying, imagine you've got these walled gardens, and the first step is to create the walled gardens, and they'll be created on a private XRP ledger. Then walled garden goes down, and it makes sense for XRP to be a bridge, right? Then this, congrats to Ripple for winning in key categories, including Best Sustainability Initiative in Digital Currency and Digital Currency Leader of the Year in the Digital Currency Conference. Check this out. Ripple seems to be winning. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that any minute now we get to see the Hinman emails